Hi, I'm Stevie Fernandez.
And I'm Trish Whitmer. It means so much to us to have you back with us once again for this week's Explore Tulsa.
And if you're a race fan, you can't wait for next weekend with the Indy 500 on early Sunday, followed by the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series continuing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway later that night.
There's still a lot of races left in the chase for a Sprint Cup champ, but Dale Jr. is in the hunt and he's currently ranked 4th.
You know, I know a guy who knows a guy that knew Junior's dad and helped him buy one of the Intimidator's actual race cars.
And let me guess, he just has this car sitting in his garage.
If you don't believe me, just ask Gary Boyle for yourself.
He was the Intimidator, and if drivers saw him coming up in the rearview mirror, they just didn't know how to act. They thought, well, I better get out of this guy's way or he's going to knock me out. I kind of took that philosophy in driving, and sure enough, it worked. Took a liking to Dale Earnhardt back then when I liked his way of driving, the way he carried himself. And Dale wanted to follow his dad's footsteps, and he did, and it was rough. He went through some rough times, but he made it. He did. The man came from dirt poor and made a name for himself.
He has told me, all about his racing.
From the time I was a kid, my dad used to take us to Taft Stadium in Oklahoma City. And when I was old enough, I started racing dirt cars. Started out in what you'd call a factory stock, into street stocks, and pro stocks for a couple of years on a half-mile dirt.
And, we'd go back and talk, and, it was always, he was at this racetrack, and I would mention what happened there, and he'd go, well, I was there. And, it's really weird, the way that thing happened, but he's very emotional about Dale Earnhardt. I am too.
It was a shock, it really was. He just, if you've seen the crash, which it's been replayed several times, it just shouldn't have happened. I don't know. With the now Hans devices that's come out of it, I'm sure it's saved a lot of lives. But when you lose somebody like that, and the funeral is televised like a president had died or something, it's big. I met a guy in North Carolina. We became good friends, and come to find out, he was a friend of Dale Earnhardt's. He grew up with him as a kid. Him and Dale, they worked hand in hand until Dale kind of started getting famous, and they always kept in touch. And I've stayed in touch with Lynn, and he's still a good friend of mine. And he had the car, restored it, and ran on us some bad times. We were talking one day, and he said, well, if you'd like to own it, I'll give you the first opportunity. I've had it ever since, and it's been a lot of fun.
He had told me that he owned a Dale Earnhardt Sr. car, and I'm like, yeah, right.
It's quite the conversation piece. My wife and I take it to car shows, do benefits. I like to do benefit stuff. It's got an 850 horsepower SB2 Chevrolet engine, 4-speed transmission. It's got the same drive line that would have ran in the Cup Series in 2000, which they've evolved up to, they were carbureted back then. Now they're fuel injected.
We love going to the shows. We've had so many people come up to the car and just sit down and just cry.
You just throw that garage door up and pull this car out in the driveway, and you wouldn't believe the traffic that just goes by, and they're just like, what in the world, This is kind of my retreat. I get out here and I reminisce about the good old days.
He's constantly 3 and 4 times a week, if not every day, coming out and wiping it down.
When I got rid of all my race cars, you know, I just thought, gosh, I need a race car. You know, something that I can have, but I don't have to go race it. You know, and this was perfect.